Hey, Facebook, Kara, the blonde unicorn, hanging out here with Dr. Popular. We're going to start talking about his game KnifeTank that is currently live on Kickstarter. But we're going to give it a couple of seconds before we get going so that people can jump on with us. So just hang out for a few seconds.
Do we have hold music?
No, I just kind of usually use this time to just like chit chat because I'm excessive.
Do 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 do.
I love it.
Do 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 do.
I love it. Okay, so do. Why is this? Oh, maybe I should unclick that one. Sorry, I'm trying to. Do you see the link to the Facebook on your Facebook page there, bud?
No, like go to your page.
Yeah.
The event page. Okay, yeah, I'll go to the event page and I'll see it. Do 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 do.
I love your theme song music. Is that like your personal theme song music for life? Because it should be. It's pretty delightful.
You should check out. I did a Kickstarter for a yo-yo called The Bolt Part 2, and I also wrote a rap song for that, although I was the one rapping for that one, where this one has a friend of mine rapping. And that's
pretty legit.
Yeah, that one probably it's just this like you need to buy it. just screaming you need to buy it a lot.
I love it. That's funny.
So I'm on the live chat page and I'm not seeing.
Oh, if you just go to the regular Kara the Blonde Unicorn page, you will see it. And I've just shared it to my feed, like my personal one. So you can find it there. And I'm pretty sure Brian has shared it. Let me copy link. There we go. Let's get out of this so I can get it to you.
I got it now.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty. So I guess let's get down to it. So, Dr. Popular here. This is your first time doing a game, right?
This is my very first game that I've released. I've actually designed 5 other games, and every time I got as far as the publishing stage, I realized, oh, these tokens are going to cost too much, or these figures, or dice is one. I designed a dice game, and it was like 75 cents per side, and I had like 16 dice with 6 sides. So this game particularly started with like, I want to design something that ships in like a deck of cards, no dice, no anything. So I started from that and created this game.
I feel you on that. Our games, like cards only, we do not. It's too much. It's hard for like packaging and all that jazz. But yeah, really cool. How did you come up with like this game? Because it's pretty rad, and I really like your card manipulation. I haven't seen anything like that before with like laying and moving and all that jazz. So how'd you come up with that?
There's a a few points of reference for my game. Like one of them is paper football.
Okay.
You know that, right? Like just like making the triangle and just kind of kicking it to the edge. That was definitely an inspiration. Yeah.
Hoping you don't get it in the eye.
Yeah. Even one of the bits of my game is like you try to get to the edge of the table without falling off, which is straight up like paper football. But there was a game called Laser Riders. That had these like long cardboard kind of rulers, except they were like it was a light cycle game.
Okay.
And so you could play like a long turn to the right or a long turn to the left or short turn to the left, short turn to the right. And that was another kind of inspiration. Just the idea of putting on the cards, I've seen a few other people do, but I hadn't seen it when I first started this game. Since then, I think I've seen a game called Leviathan and Car Rally, I think, that also have that. But neither of those games have knives.
Yeah, no, and I'm pretty sure that's what makes it really cool. You get to have knives and like destroy each other. Yeah, so I mean, it's really cool and it's awesome. What drew you? I've been curious about this one since it showed up. What drew you to this art style? Like, first I asked Brian was like, is this guy really into like heavy metal music? He started laughing at me. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, no, my wife is into metal,
Okay.
and she's gotten me to appreciate metal and all the different forms and subgenres of metal. I definitely like the aesthetic, and like I think for me it almost started first with the writing of the band names and this idea
Okay.
that you're intentionally trying to write something so hard to read that if you can't read it, you don't deserve to know what it is or whatever. Like I kind of thought that was kind of cool. This like
Yeah.
intentionally obfuscating the band's name instead of trying to make it as readable as possible. Trying to make it as unreadable as possible. So I thought that was kind of punk, and
Right.
yeah, I got into that a little bit more, and then started kind of liking the aesthetic of metal art, and
Yeah.
then metal music eventually grew on me. Which I growing up I used to hate metal music, but now I realize I've been missing some rad stuff.
Brian likes metal. I do not. And I'm sorry to tell you, Brian, you're never going to convince me otherwise. So going back to
My,
how you were talking about the like art, like the lettering style being that you can't read
yeah,
it. So I just got a comment. So like this one,
yeah, hmm
dig it, but like you got to look at
hmm
it for a few seconds. But I love that you made it easier to read on the cards, and
yeah.
I
And
appreciate that, especially the first time through. Thank you.
now there's one card. Can you pull the flick card out?
Yeah, it's the next
I'll see
one.
if I have it.
This one is
Yeah,
probably my favorite card because I like that it's like a knife on a rocket. My sister's an
yeah,
aerospace engineer, so like I dig it. It's
right
very
on.
rad. Yeah.
That's the one card though that people read it at first and they don't read the word flick. They see something else. And that's one where I've been trying to figure out like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like I'm like, do I really need, like I definitely want the game for kids, but technically it says flick. It is kids friendly. So that's one of the cards that I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh. And
If it
that's
makes
actually
you feel better, I am 100% still a child at heart, and I did
yeah,
not get that. I always saw Flick.
good.
So there you
Yeah,
go.
I mean that's kind of my opinion too. When people tell me it looks like another word, I'm just like, gosh, your mind is so dirty. Like that's
Right?
how could you
Like,
see that in this? It
right?
obviously says flick.
Obviously. And like even though like the art is, kind of intense, you've got some flames and smoke there, it still is like a style that I think well adults definitely dig it, so will kids.
hmm
So I think you nailed that on the head. How
Man,
long did
I,
it
I
take you to
lucked
like
out
come
with that
yeah.
artist.
Who, so
Yeah,
who, I guess first question, who is your artist? Where is he from?
so I drew all of the cards first off just like on blank playing cards. You can just buy blank
I
playing cards.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
may or
know
may
it,
not
right?
have Facebook stalked you and saw
Yeah,
that. And I was like, oh, I totally saw this. Like,
yeah.
it's
Yeah, so
pretty
like
awesome.
just totally like just blank cards from
Yeah,
Amazon are like $5 for 100, for
yeah.
poker sized cards, and a little Sharpie and some coloring markers, and
Goes a long
and
way, man.
you've got great prototypes, but the thing is that the prototypes look so much like the final art.
They do.
And
I was so impressed by that. I was
yeah,
honestly, I thought you were the artist. Like, I thought you did all of it.
yeah. Actually, here's that flick card again.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
totally the same thing, but the current version is better, right? And so what
I mean,
happened was
maybe a
I
little bit,
went
but
I went on Fiverr. Have you heard of
yeah.
Fiverr?
Yeah, that's who
Yeah.
we use. We go through Fiverr.
So I went on Fiverr, and I first I was using Fiverr to hire artists to do like metal fonts, and I was
Hmm.
doing like yo-yo logos and some other game design stuff. I was adding this like metal, this extreme death metal kind of font, and so that's when I first started using Fiverr, was for that. And somewhere along the line, I found an artist who was drawing like lots of skulls with like snakes and stuff going through them, and I was like, this is great, this is rad stuff.
That's pretty
So
solid.
yeah, I reached out to them, and they ended up being my main artist, like 100%. Like the original source, it's kind of looks like my art, but it's just way better. And the combination of our styles, I think, is great. And she's actually like lives in a commune in Italy. And my heavy metal artist, my font
She's
artist,
cool.
yeah, right. She's rad. And my font artist is like in France, And
Okay.
my the person who screams on my Kickstarter video, the kind of throaty metal voice, that's
Yeah.
another Fiverr artist. So like this game was
Fiverr
like
has it
really,
all.
yeah, it was made possible with Fiverr. And of course I wasn't paying $5 for art. I was trying to really respect the artist, especially
Yeah.
once I found people I liked. You know, I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
they wanted to keep working with me.
We have
But
a guy that we kind of somehow managed to keep on retainer because we like
yeah,
him so much that we just are like, here, do this, just to like keep him involved and busy. I love it. So the girl in Italy, she did this one.
yeah, she did that one. Again, kind of based on some older art. But yeah, like that's totally her style. She
I
did
love it.
basically all of the art, and her name on Fiverr, or you can Google Il Corvo art. That's ILCORVO art, which I imagine means rad person in Italian. I don't know. And the metal artist who does the fonts, their name is Stone Pack, STONEPAQ, and I'm
Okay.
kind of scared to share their info. Like I was on Reddit on the game designers forum, and people like, "Who's your artist?" And you know, I don't want to keep it a secret, but at the same time,
My artist,
I
I
don't want to
don't want to
lose.
share.
But
Been
you know, I
there.
wish them both the best of luck, and I hope they get lots more gigs because they deserve it.
Definitely. Real quick. Hi, Amy. I miss you, friend. Okay, so my next question for you is how long did it take you from like start of this project to now where you're launched on Kickstarter?
2 years and 3 months. 2 years and maybe 4 months. I like
Solid.
I said, I was working on other games, and they all got basically to that 95% done stage,
Yeah.
which is always that last 5%, which is the hardest anyway. But like I got to that point where I was actually talking to manufacturers, and I have final art, and I'm ready for my quotes, and then the next thing was to go to Kickstarter, and all of those just had some sort of difficulty or another. One of them, one dimensional chess, I think could be one of my biggest games that I do. And I figure like I should start with something smaller, a deck of
Mhm.
cards, and then, work my way up to some of these more ambitious games that I think might have a bigger audience.
Yeah.
But that's been 4 years of game design. And the last 2 years, KnifeTank has been sort of the main thing. And I did go back and forth, between, am I going to do this game or this game? Up until October, and then I was like, KnifeTank is the game I'm going to start with.
There you go. What drew you to like this industry?
Well, I've been in game design as a video game designer. I've been doing that for 10 years, not
I
as
had no
a
clue. Brian should have let off with that one. Not that you're a yo-yoer.
yeah.
Like that's
Well,
cool. Both
I've
things
had
are
I've
cool,
had
but like game design for like video games is really rad.
I've had a lot of weird careers. I've been a tailor, I've been a professional yo-yoer, and I've been a game designer. And I did a game at the Mighty Boosh, this is a Mighty Boosh shirt. That's a BBC TV show. Those guys were awesome to work with. They were on Jimmy Kimmel promoting the game that we made with them. So like that
No.
one, yeah, that was pretty cool. Like my game's on the Kimmel show. Uh, and I did a couple other. I did a Knife Tank video game, and I did a few other video games. One called Squirrel Wars, which is a real time strategy game for furries. And and somewhere along the line, I was working on a game called Sweet Ride, which is a hoverboard game for iOS. And I was like, man, this has been 3 years working on this game. I bet I could make a board game, in a month. I bet I could just do like 5 games in the time it's taken me to do this one video game. And could, I just couldn't ship them.
Yeah.
Shipping a game is so much easier, it seems, than so
Yeah.
making the board games is super easy. Like I had working prototypes right away,
Mhm.
and play testing. The day after I came up with the idea, I was already play testing it.
That's
But
awesome.
then, yeah, then the manufacturing and all that stuff is just a whole other thing. Mhm. Yeah.
Still there? Do you see me? Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah,
Am I back? Okay. Just
yeah.
kidding. Technical difficulties. Just kidding. Okay, so what kind of challenges have you found so far with this process?
You know, the scariest thing is probably the least fun thing to talk about, but just marketing the game and just
Mhm.
trying to build an email list and all that stuff. That was by far the and is the hardest part of the entire process. The whole designing a game and working with a factory and working with artists, that's all a cinch, and it's
Mhm.
fun, and it's just something that you look forward to doing every day. And then you get to the point where you're like, I need like 1,000 people to be ready on launch day. How am I going to make this happen? And like, yeah, that was the most intimidating part. But if we're talking about the game, uh, I I'd say rule writing,
Yeah.
which another great thing that happened was I found a person who had worked in trading card games before, and they ended up being the perfect person to write my rules for me. And I highly recommend, if you can, hire someone else to write your rules. It's or even to write your copy or whatever, because I think that game designers oftentimes are the worst people at describing their own games.
That's great advice, and I definitely think that I'm going to keep that in my back pocket for our next game
Yeah.
because we write our own rules. And sometimes
Mhm.
I look back and I read them. I'm like, does this make sense to somebody? That's great advice, man.
I mean,
What?
that might just be me too. Like other people writing the rules might be their strong point.
It's
And
not
maybe working
ours.
with artists is the hard part. It's hard, man. It's
It's
so
so
worth it
hard.
to pay someone, $50 or $100 to write your rules for you.
It's like
Oh.
someone that knows how to do this,
Hmm.
and, like gets it and pass it off on them. I like it. I'm here for it. Let's do it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your Kickstarter campaign. Now,
Hmm.
this is not your first Kickstarter, but this is the first one for a game, right?
That's right. I've done 9 other Kickstarters for
A lot of
yo-yos,
Kickstarters.
for zines, and for music. And I knew all of my audiences really well. They were very small communities. This is my first time trying to go into the big world of games.
Yeah. I mean, looking at your campaign right now, I think you did a great job. One, you already have 66 backers. You've got $1,300 raised. Your video is awesome. And I love all of your gifts that you made. Did you make those or did you have someone make them for you?
Yeah, making the gifts is super easy, and that's something I love doing. I worked with a friend to shoot the video, and I just made sure that I was thinking in terms of gifts while we were shooting. I was like, we need these top-down shots where we show, because the game itself is kind of hard to describe, and I think moving gifts really helps sell. Like, oh, I get it. The knife attaches to your tank, and it's a card that goes on top of your card, like that sort of stuff. Just visually, a GIF is probably worth 2,000 words, and
Oh, for
and
sure. For sure.
and and yeah, I love having GIFs. Although I am a little worried that my page is like 10 megs loading or something.
You know
I
what? I
think each
just
GIF is like a
refreshed it
meg,
and it went really fast, if that's
lightning
helpful
fast.
to know. Yeah, so I think my favorite one is the first one that has like the smoke with the different cards.
Yeah,
However, I do really, really dig is it the flip one where you see all the guys around the table?
yeah.
That's so creative. I love it. Oh, Brian, you do suck at writing rules. I'm happy that you know that you do. He says that we have two editors. We do, but maybe we should hand it off to them to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So being that you have done many Kickstarters, do you set up your page yourself or do you have someone else set it up for you?
Yeah, I set it up all myself, and it's pretty different than most. I think it's pretty different than most tabletop game Kickstarters.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's a lot of those that are going for really clean looks, like all white backgrounds. Sometimes they're even using like computer generated graphics and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's this kind of um, there's a thing that seems like it must work because they're very successful campaigns. But I really wanted something that felt like it was made by hand and sort of felt like you could kind of see my fingerprints on or whatever. So like it's
You
wooden tabletops
do.
and yeah, yeah. It's a very different than the very polished campaign, but yeah, I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. How cool. Okay.
We
So,
even we were talking about the metal artist that I used for writing, flick and stuff like that on the
yeah.
cards. When it was time to do the Kickstarter, I reached out to them and I was like, "Here's a list of 8 words." Instead of when you break up sections, oftentimes you have these like little ping files or image files that say like stretch goals or whatever. I was like, I want you to write stretch goals. I want you to write reviews. I want you to write all the different the categories in your heavy metal font. And
Yeah.
that was kind of fun to bring it back, like beyond just doing, having this guy do the game art. He also did art for the Kickstarter page too, which I think it's so solid.
I think it's a really awesome way to carry through like the feel of the artwork in your game.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool way to bring it through.
And that was like a
S-
last minute thing. That was like 2 days ago. I hired
yeah.
him and I got the results like last night. I was like, put them in
He
the
did
page real quick.
really good. He did really good.
Yeah.
Hi Dava. I love you too. I will see you soon. So out of the like specialty cards, which one is
Mhm.
your favorite to use, and which one has your favorite art?
I think I love the flick card. I love the bold colors and the rocket and all that. But I think
Yeah.
maybe the blow card is the game that's the most fun in the game. So in the
Oh,
game, you're slowly moving your cards across the table, and sometimes you get close to each other and you try stabbing each other with knife cards. When you play the blow card, instead of moving your card like just an inch or whatever, you get your head close to the table and you blow as hard as you can, and you try to come up with a strategy. Like, am I going to try to blow the opponent's card back because maybe they're getting close to your side, or maybe you're just starting off and you want to get like a really good foot or two of distance. So it's kind of a surprisingly strategic game, and
yes.
it's a game altering one because you could blow 3 cards and wherever they land is where they land. So like the minefield might move, your tank might move, your opponent's tank might move. It just scrambles the whole board, and I think that's so fun.
Right. The first special
Which
card I
one's your
got
favorite?
was blow,
Blow.
and I epically failed at it. Brian was
Yeah.
dying.
Well,
So
that's the other thing too with
yeah.
blow is sometimes people get really hyped up. The place gets really quiet. They're all like, "Oh crap, what's gonna happen?" And someone blows, and the card just like vibrates on the table, like, and like some weird aeronautic effect happens, and it doesn't move at
Right.
all.
That's
Like
usually what happens to
suctions
me,
on
and
the
I'm
table.
like, oh, okay.
And other times, like the card gets going slowly, and then all of a sudden it just carries across and falls off the table or whatever. And yeah, it's a fun dramatic card.
Right. So I think for me, artwork wise, it comes down between these two. The
Hmm.
spin and the toss. I can't decide. Spin, I mean, look at those propellers. Like, that's awesome. And like this
Yeah,
one, I don't know if I'm like backwards pointing. That one right there, like you can
yeah,
tell it's seen some better days. Like it's all right. It's a little chewed up. I dig it.
yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it's how it's supposed to be. It looks like it had better days. So I don't know. It's between those two for my favorite art. And
Cool.
even though I am not good at playing it, I like playing the flip card.
Yeah. I think Flick Card was the first of the special cards, again inspired from like table or table football or whatever, paper
Yeah.
football. And I think once I saw that in action, that's where I was like, oh crap, I can add like 5 other cards that are like that. So that was the first of them, and I think that was a big breakthrough for me.
I think that whole, I don't know what you want to call it, mechanic or whatever, is really what makes your game really cool because you
Mhm.
have these things that you're doing on top of just getting close and like having like a knife go at them. Like these. This one cracks me up.
Yeah. So there was
Yeah.
a point when I was working with Il Corvo. There was a point where I didn't even have to like draw things anymore. I'd just be like, hey, just draw a shark with a knife taped to its head. Like, you know, so we started off with like me, you know, showing sketches and you know, I needed to fit on here. And then at the end I was just like, oh, we need another card. And I would just say something random. And I'm pretty sure the spin card, the helicopter, I think that one was one of the few cards that I didn't draw in any way. I just described like, you know, think of Apocalypse Now, but like the helicopter has blades.
That's
And then she
awesome.
drew that, and it was awesome.
That's hilarious. Okay, so like this one, hold on, I'm gonna show them to you. These three crack me up. So this one, it's funny. This one. That one looks like bye, buddy. I hope you find your dad. Dava, are you talking about this one? Oh, that's funny. You know the Norwal from Elf when he's talking to Buddy as he's leaving the North Pole to find Santa.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And this one, I love the green goop on it.
Yeah, you know that was red, and then I'm
happy you changed it to green.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I have like the cards spread out everywhere. It is pretty awesome. So what do you think will be your next game?
So if this game's successful, I would like one-dimensional chess to be my next game. That's a chess variant. It is a row of 18 squares, black, white, black, white, black, white, and one of each chess piece and modified rules on how you play them in one dimension. And it's, you know, I'm kind of hoping that there's a large audience of people like me who like chess variants. And I don't know for sure, but if you know chess at all, I think you'll love this game because it's surprisingly strategic. At first, you're like, there's no way that could be played, and then once you do it, you're like, oh my god! Like I can actually envision 4 moves ahead. Where in chess, you're thinking 2-dimensionally or whatever, and it's way harder to think about like, you know, what's going to happen several moves down.
That sounds pretty cool. Will you have like a unique art style like you do with this one on that, you think?
That one's going to be, you know, just a chessboard that unfolds, you know, a long, thin chessboard. It'll have a really strong color palette. It'll actually have the same color palette as I use for this. And I hope to use that palette for like all my games.
Love this color palette. It's bold and awesome. Yes, I'm here for it.
And it works with metal too. I was really surprised that, you know, there's like pinks and light greens and stuff, like kind of almost neon blues. And
it works.
And, you know, it totally works.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm going to try to use that for, you know, one-dimensional chess. So instead of like white and black squares, I'll do white and blue. Although the pieces will probably be just white and black because I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Like there's places where you can get pieces for cheap. So I'll just, you know, take advantage of that.
Definitely. That's cool. All right. So we do have a lot of friends that are starting out with their very first game. What advice do you have for them?
You know, some people say play test, play test, play test. That's super important. The one thing I wish I could have been doing earlier was marketing. Like I was kind of marketing. I was sharing photos. I was promoting kind of an idea of a game for a long time. So people who followed me knew for 2 years that I've been working on this game. But, you know, when I went to conferences, I went to Proto Spiel, which if there's a Proto Spiel near you, those things are magical.
Those things are awesome.
Yeah. And, you know, you have hundreds of people throwing themselves at your game all weekend. And, you know, it's hard to do both. I focused on play testing and feedback and, you know, how do the rules read and just kind of like trying to, you know, get feedback on the game, which is very important. But I also missed, you know, 100 people that could have signed up on my email list. And I felt kind of weird keeping them there for 20 minutes to play the game, 20 minutes to talk about the game. And then on top of that, to ask them for, I don't know how I could have done it better, but like, that's the thing I wish I was thinking about sooner, was building an email list, or, you know, some way that, you know, that I had 500 people who were committed to buying the game when I launched. That would have been awesome.
No, I mean, like, now you know, and I feel like you probably have a following just from everything you've done previously, that if you reach out to those folks, that might help you as well.
Hoping
You know what I'm
so. I'm
saying?
hoping there's some crossover.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you've had a lot of really successful campaigns and other things that I feel like a lot of those people could dig this. It's really
Hmm.
cool. Yeah. All right. So, if you guys haven't caught on, he is a professional yo-yoer. So that's pretty awesome. And we were talking about his other campaigns, and you've done some for yo-yo design. Was that what it was?
I was selling yo-yos, like
Yeah.
the yo-yos that I designed. One of the most recent ones I did was for the Bolt Part 2, which was bringing back a yo-yo I designed in 2000, bringing it back kind of in a modern way. And for that video, I had the hardest time writing the campaign pitch for it. So I got this idea that I would do it in the voice of a rapper. I like rapping, and I
This is
decided it would be
awesome.
easier. Yeah, it would be easier to, like, because I found every time I hit record, I'd be like, "Hey, you guys, my name's Doc, and I make yo-yos. This one's pretty cool. Thank you." It was like not selling very well, and
Yeah.
I kept trying to like hype myself up, and like I have to, tell them what it is and why they want it, what it is and why they want it. And I just couldn't do it. And then I got this idea to write a rap song, and all of a sudden it was like I was writing a script for someone else. It's so much easier to give
Yeah.
advice to someone than it is to
Yeah.
take your own advice.
Yeah. Oh, for
So
sure.
yeah, all of a sudden I'm writing, it's the Bolt Part 2. You need to buy it, and just like showing showing just
I'm
this
like,
high
keep
energy.
going, man. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Do the whole rap for me.
Yeah, and that was probably part of the inspiration for this video too. Although I didn't rap on this video, I just couldn't figure out how to describe the product. So I asked a friend if they could wrap it, and they nailed it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool. All right. So, thank you so much for chatting with me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing your game with us. We enjoyed playing it together. If you
Hmm.
haven't go on over and check out his Kickstarter. I'm pointing at my other screen here because I have it up. The link is in this video, so go on over, check it out. Let's support another new designer. And Dr. Popular, I was wondering if you could end this with a really cool yo-yo trick for me.
Well, it's a lot of pressure. All right,
It's
I'm
a
gonna
lot
try.
of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. I'm just saying.
Well, I don't want to string you on, so I'll do my best here. I'm gonna sit and yo-yo, and let's see what we can do here. Whoop, whoop.
That was so cool. So I can like get the yo-yo to go down, but I can't get it to come back up. So that was amazing.
Thank you.
I loved it. You're welcome. So thank you so much for chatting with me. Thank you to Facebook for watching it with us. Do you have anything you want to plug other than your
Uh,
Kickstarter?
no.
Okay.
Thank you, Dava and Brian, for chiming in the comments.
Yeah, and Amy, she said
And Amy.
hi. Yeah, so cool. Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll talk with you later, Facebook. Bye.